All right, let's get back to our guest tonight. Paul Wesley is our guest for the last hour. Paul, again, thank you so much for giving us some time this evening.
And again, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you so much for allowing me to bring truth to you, not only yours to the show, but to the viewers.
Well, and the one thing too, Paul, and Bill, I want to thank you for calling in. I think one thing, Paul, is that you've been dealing with this your whole life. And,
my whole life.
Yes. And there's a lot of people, I think, that are listening tonight. I know there are a lot of people that are dealing with it too. And yet there are people that are curious about it and have questions. And I know with Bill, he's definitely, like so many of us, trying to find out the truth. And I think that just the truth can be tough, and if we're going to find it out, we need to definitely be a little bit careful based upon some of the things that you're sharing with us.
Well, not only careful about the things I'm sharing with you, just empower yourself to look within your soul, look within ourselves to not only find the truth, but learn how to deal with the truth. And truth is a very scary thing. When I first woke up to the situations that were happening, and not only with myself, but in the world, it made me very angry at first. And from anger, it turned into understanding. And from understanding, it turned into love. I'm not anti other beings or other races, not at all. But I do acknowledge that there are races of beings that are out there that are very negative, and I think that we really need to deal with them. And this is something that a lot of people want to say, my space brothers and space sisters, and they're here to help me, and they're showing me this. But like the last guest, not the last guest. I'm so sorry. The last caller, Bill wanted to, he wanted to contact with, and that's fine. We could really want to contact our space brothers and space sisters, but we have to also really find truth in what we're doing. And truth can be very frightening, and it really is.
Yeah. One of the questions that came, that one of the listeners called me with while we were going through the news break, and one of the questions for him, Paul, was, how do we protect our children from this? Is there any way to protect our children from these abductions?
Wow, that is a really good question. I think we can't protect our children until we can protect ourselves. I mean, honestly, the most disheartening thing that I've had to experience was my oldest child said to me, she said, Dad, and I said, well, what? And she said, I had a dream. I was in a campsite, and next thing I know, I seen this big-headed being with big black eyes. And as soon as I heard that, I was enraged with anger, very upset, very agitated. And I kind of had this inner feeling like, wow, dude, now you're messing with my kid. Now it's personal. And that was one of the steps that I made to empower myself to change things. Now, will it change things for her? I mean, again, I mean, we have to empower ourselves to stop this. I mean, it's possible that we can do it, but and the thing was, if you were abducted, I mean, wow, I mean, if you have a family, everyone everyone is can be taken. Everyone can be abducted. I mean,
is that pretty common? If one person in the household is getting abducted, chances are the others are too?
Sure. Absolutely. We're dealing with a negative group that takes free will. I mean, how can someone say to me that, okay, I have a group of other beings, okay? Because I don't like calling these beings aliens. I don't think that's fair. How can someone say I have a group of beings that takes me, does experiments on me, and then says it's okay? I mean, they know how to manipulate the consciousness. And that being said, they put it in people's minds that it's okay. Hey, look, we're here. We're your friends. When you know, and that's when I really broke off, because I'm kind of like, when I researched the work of Phil Schneider, okay, who was supposedly you know, dead. Carla Turner, look her up, okay. She got into the grave, she got into the tall whites, and poof, cancer. It's either cancer or a heart attack or something like that. When we get into the work of Dr. Jacobs, who's a Philadelphia native, he has done 20, 30 more years of, you know, excuse me, of hypnosis research, to where he's helped people through abduction. This man is legit. And he said in his books, and he has said through his own mouth, which I'm saying, that the future is grim, scary, okay? We are being taken against our free will. I mean, come on. Like, you know, I mean, it's just, you know, I've been on multiple radio shows, so, you know this. Everyone knows. And it really, I kind of feel like when I'm on here, it just really breaks my heart when I hear people say, "Oh my God, you know, I was chosen, or I signed a contract," or, you know, what? Okay, all right. Well, if you signed the contract, well, how come you don't know the outcome other than you signed the contract? And it's just, it's insanity. Mm-hmm. That's what we're dealing with right now. Insanity. And that's not the popular thing to say. I'll say it's not going to sell books. It's not going to, you know, we're not going to have a lot of people that are going to like what I have to say. I mean, in any video I've ever done, in any Monsanto protest or anything I've ever done, I've always promoted love vibration. Are there other beings that are love vibration? Absolutely. Absolutely. But we live on a planet where the few who, unfortunately, have been controlling the many for thousands of years have basically said, hey, look, we control things. Do what you want. And we have beings that pretty much are doing what they want without asking people. You know.
Do you think there's a lot of, you've mentioned a couple times, Paul, about the Illuminati. Do you feel that that there is a relationship between extraterrestrials, non-humans, and
Sure.
people on this planet that work together? Do you believe there's actually maybe a bigger relationship there than people realize?
Well, when we look at the technology by itself, we can see how we, you know, jumped from a warplane from the World War I era to a F-117 stealth bomber. I mean, we didn't just get that technology out of nowhere. You know, absolutely. I mean, the Illuminati, the term Illuminati, they consider themselves the illuminated ones, the enlightened ones. The enlightened ones means the individuals who have enlightened their consciousness to where they are enlightened. They understand how the third eye works, so that's also in what's called the pineal gland. It's a whole different ballgame. But absolutely, I think that the humans who control things have been working with these extraterrestrial beings, and I believe that they have been doing it for the wrong reasons. I mean, you know, there's been positive beings that have came and said, hey, look, disarm your weapons, okay? All right? We don't want nukes. We don't want none of this. We want humanity to live in peace, live in love. You know, human beings, from my understanding, were meant to be farmers and gatherers and, you know, loving beings. I mean, this is on other planets. I mean, you have this. And the parasites who run the world said no. You know, we don't want your peace. We're not going to disarm ourselves, because maybe it was because they were kind of paranoid and they kind of figured, well, if they disarmed all the weapons that we had, that we would kind of open ourselves up for an alien invasion or another species to attack us. And they kind of said to the grays and tall whites that, hey, look, you know, we'll give you a couple herd of cattle if you give us technology to protect ourselves from other boogeymen in the universe. You know, I think that may have been the case. I mean, it's kind of where it's kind of like, well, okay, well, you know, you give us the technology so we can build a galactic Star Wars force to protect this planet, and we'll give you a couple herd of cattle. But here's the problem, okay? Here's the problem. there's a hybrid program that has been going and going and going on, and there's no one that's listening to this right now who has been abducted that is going to object with this. And they have seen these hybrid children. And the agreement that was made with the illuminated ones, if you want to call them that, was, okay, technology, make us kings of the world, this, and this. But the deception is that these beings who are light years ahead of us are basically going to say, screw you, we're going to mix our DNA with your universal DNA and take over the planet. And that is why I say humanity is being recycled. So, long story short, yes, there has been an exchange. There's been definitely been contact.
With the good and the bad.
Sure.
Do you think that the Illuminati? Do you believe that they have dealt with both here, or more with the bad element?
Well, I mean, I pretty much just, like I said, I mean, they've had their opportunity to, from what I gather, from the information that I get, and then again, people are going to say, well, who are you? You're just some guy on a radio show. You're what experience? I'm just like everyone else. I've been abducted. I've been through it. I've done it. I've lived it. And again, I've seen the good. I've seen the bad. And of course I've seen the good. The one guy, Bill, who called in, he pretty much hit it on the money when he first called in. He said, well, he didn't kind of pursue what he first said, but he hit it on the money. He just didn't keep going with it. But he was saying about a council or a galactic council. And yes, there is good guys out there that really want to help, but they are low vibrational beings, and they understand how free, quote, I'm going to say this again, free will works. And what free will means is that they can say, hey, listen, we're going to give you an opportunity to say, we don't want negative beings around you, okay? We don't want free will being taken, all right? We're going to give you this opportunity. Just disarm your friggin' weapons, dude. Let's get rid of them. No more war. Let's get free energy going. Let's get this ball rolling, okay? But you have to accept that option. You have to accept that agreement, okay? The way the universe works, from my understanding, is everything's a contract, okay? So you're given an option of how things work. So they can't just come in here and say da 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 da. So, and we turned it down. We were giving that option, and we said, well, we don't. I mean, maybe the government basically just was like, hey, look, again, they figured, well, we don't know who to trust, so we're just going to say, we don't know who to trust, we don't know where to start. And that's kind of understandable. Like, we don't know who to trust, we don't know who not to trust. Let's just get much technology as we can, let's stockpile as many weapons as we can, and kind of take it from there. And that's, I think, the move that was made. But also, there was an agreement where, hey, listen, we want to mess around with DNA, and we want to take a couple herd of cattle. And Phil Schneider hit it on the money. He, God bless him, Creator bless him, he worked with the underground bases, Dulce and everything, and he said it. He said that there was an agreement made. Okay?
Yeah.
And the agreement was made that they get to take a couple herd of cattle, they can mess with our DNA, and there was a population reduction that had to be made, and we're seeing that now through chemtrails, we're seeing that now again through all the other things, Monsanto, everything. So, it's there. It's there. The hybrids are here. So, I mean, there was definitely agreement. Definitely.
Have you worked with other abductees, Paul?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I've shared my stories, and it's hard because it's hard, but it's also a connection that you get because you can relate. And the thing is, when you relate to someone who has been violated and taken, as I call it, you feel that energy, you feel that emotion, and emotion is the key word here. Now, some people who I call them mind controlled. I mean, we already know the government does mind control. That's no secret. That's on other shows. But, you know, I mean, so to say that, you know, beings that are light years ahead of us, honestly, they don't have the technology to do that. I mean, it's absurd. I've dealt with people that have had, you know, positive experiences. I've said, oh, well, you know, everything was positive, and I was taken, and that's fine. You know, we swap stories and we share stories, and I take their positive experiences and I express my experiences, because not all of them were negative, but, you know, and so I have interacted with others, and it's very emotional, as it should be, you know.
Well, what the sense I get from you, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, I think kind of what it all comes down to is that there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of things happening. There's things that we need to do as a race of humans to change things. But kind of the big thing, and you've mentioned this a few times, and I can see where you're coming from, is you didn't sign up for this program, and it's an intrusion, and it's not of your own free will. Somebody else is taking control, and that's kind of, I think that's what I get. That's one of your bottom line messages, is that where you get upset is that you've got a group of individuals, human, non-human, however you want to term it, and they are doing things. They're breaking. People are not allowing to make. They're not giving somebody a choice. They are doing what they want to do at any cost.
Well, the thing is I want to see the better for not only humanity but other races that are on this planet. I mean, because there's more than one, and there's a lot of hybrids and other races that are listening to this right now. And I want to say, yes, I reach thousands of people. Yes, I do, and yes, the show does. And I want to say I'm with you. I'm so passionately, heartfelt, emotionally with you. We really have to understand that the stronghold right now is negative, and yes, a lot of humans haven't signed up for this, but I think you know, honestly, I think love vibration can break that. I think, see, one of the things that these Zetas, the tall whites and the Zetas, you know, they have these higher programs, because they don't have emotion, you understand? They don't have soul emotion like we have, and through taking our DNA, they can accomplish this. They can have their legacy live on, and that's great. Everyone is entitled to love, but only when they consent to it. And I stand for that with any race, because I really don't think only humanity is being held down. I mean, everyone. What we have here is we have a melting pot of insanity. And the only thing that can stop a melting pot of insanity is a boiling pot of love vibration, you know. And I really believe that. I strongly, especially from the feline race I've dealt with, has there been galactic wars? Absolutely. You know, and that's why I refer to these reptilian beings as the Marines, if you want to call them that, the Navy SEALs of the universe, because they are. Here's the thing, though. You know, I hear a lot of these New Agers say, you know, love, 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 and nothing more. Like, we just want to ignore the negative. We want to ignore that people have been abducted. We want to ignore that this is going on, that is going on, because if we consciously ignore that, then we can manifest the love. No, that's not how it works, because there has been galactic wars, okay, of good and evil, okay, that changes outcomes of different things. And I think that, you know, there's nothing wrong with saying that things are bad in the world. There's nothing wrong with saying that, you know, the people being abducted are taken against their free will. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that in order to change things, honestly, in order to really shift things, we need to first focus on not looking at Zetas to push a button and, you know, have us do their work, or we shouldn't think that this great galactic savior is going to come down and literally, you know, this shift in consciousness is going to happen. It's not going to happen. The only way things are going to change is if we empower ourselves and say, you know what, we were seated here, okay? we are a DNA and galactic powerhouse, and we have been violated and stripped of that, and apparently stripped of our DNA, and until we say, hey, look, it's our backyard, it's time for us to clean it up, and it's time for us to really empower ourselves, not only for, I want to stress this, not only for humanity, but for everybody on this boat, okay? Everybody, okay? Because I am not anti-other beings. I am anti-negative beings. And I want to make this clear. Until we clean up our own backyard, nothing will change. Nothing will change.
I agree with you. You talk a little bit about the hybrid program. I mean, has this been something that's been going on for an eternity, and not necessarily people on this planet, but other places?
Well, what's happening right now with the hybrid program? This has been happening, in the 50s, I think, the 40s, 50s? And the thing that really baffles my mind is, it's like people keep talking about this. All these people that have been abducted in the 50s and 60s, all right, fine. You've been abducted in the 50s and 60s. You were shown these projections or, on screens and stuff like that. This is what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. Well, how old do you think these children are now? Okay? Right. All right? So let's say this happened in the 50s and the 60s, okay? Now, this is 2014. These are grown folk. These are 20s and 30s and, 20s and 30-year-old people who are the hybrid program is complete. It's here. It's definitely here. It's and this is why we're being poisoned. People can look this up via air, via food, via water. This is why things are happening the way they're happening, because they're here. And I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to say that it's the end. I'm not going to sit here and doom and gloom it and say that I think that things have happened and this is it. Again, I'm a firm believer in consciousness and how consciousness works and how the mind works. And I believe that these hybrids, yes, they were here to do what they have to do, but I think if enough of us, and Phil Schneider said it himself, if enough of us, see, the consciousness works like this, okay? If I believe in love, you believe in love, okay? Mm-hmm. And 1,000 people sit in a circle, and we all get together and meditate and say to ourselves, this is going to happen, and it's going to happen positive. It's going to happen. That's how the universe works, my friend. The universe is energy. Consciousness is energy. If we do that, okay, things will change. The problem with now is that so many people are filled with hate and war and Syria and this and Ebola and this. See, they're consciously hitting us with negative vibrations, okay? And as far as the hybrid program, that's it. The illuminated ones, the Illuminati, who sold us out for this hybrid program, they call themselves the illuminated ones for a reason. They look at us as bottomless feeders. Bottomless feeders, wasteless eaters, whatever. They figure if we're not intelligent enough to think on our own 2 feet to make change for the world, then we don't belong here. That's it. We don't belong here. And they sold us out. And I think it backfired with the hybrid program because this is what the Zetas wanted. They wanted to, make this hybrid race, and they're here. It's underway. They are here. I talked to a girl at the Occupy movement years ago, and she shocked the hell out of me because we were talking about UFOs, and she turned around and she said to me about the hybrids. She said, Paul, she's like, I've been in coffee shops in Los Angeles, and she's like, Paul, I see them. They're not evil, they're not mean, but they're just so emotionless. And she's like, dude, they keep them themselves. Like, it's not, people say the hips are this, hips are that. If you look in the city of Philadelphia, we have factories, okay? We have, I counted, 10 of them, and the rent charge for these factories are $1,200 per unit, and you're looking, they house 30 people, so add it up, 1,200 times 30 people. Mm-hmm. And you add it up, they have their own coffee shops, they have their own, establishments. There's no economy, there's no money. Where are they coming from? Who's funding these people?
Right.
No one knows. I've discussed this with people who aren't even in ufology. And they like without even saying that I think they're hybrids, and I think that they were planted here to literally start a new humanity, blah, blah, blah. You know, I talked to them just about, you know, where do you think, this whole surge of people came from? And they said, I don't know. I have no idea. The economy's bad. How do they afford these houses? How do they do this? And a lot of people who have been abducted, they'll tell you. They'll say to you, they'll say, well, when I was abducted, I would have, the hybrid, we would shut the hybrids, and they would have landlords. With the landlord of the property was abducted, and he's instructed to show them how a kitchen works, and show them how a stove works, and, make sure the property is available for them all. So it all fits in. What I'm saying all ties in.
You just have to open your eyes and look at it.
Well, and the problem isn't opening our eyes. The problem is not only opening our eyes, but, getting up and empowering ourselves to do something. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that all hybrids should die. I mean, listen to this. What I'm saying is that free will should not be taken anymore, and that maybe there could be some saving grace where humanity and whoever else is here can merge with these hybrids, maybe, and not let us not be recycled. Let us live in love. I mean, when I was in the Army, I told the lieutenant, I said, listen, I know about on a ground basis, blah, blah, blah. I left the Army. I met a girl, and we hung out a couple of times, and she shapeshifted.
Wow.
Her whole left side of her bottom leg and her arm literally became scaly. It was a reptilian form, and she basically telepathically, I was looking at her, and she's like, I know everything. And the reason that other beings, not even hybrids, just other beings that are here, the reason that they can shapeshift like that, it's because of emotion. When they're very excited or they're very angered, they tend to shapeshift. And we live in a world where what people think is reality really isn't reality. And that's why I'm so glad to be able to be on the show to really let people know, like, how things are,
With the with this shapeshifter, do you feel this was when you were in the military?
Sure.
Was she there? Do you feel she was, I don't want to say planted there?
Yes, you're right on the money. When the funny thing is when I was being discharged from the National Guard, when I was being discharged, she was looking at me when we were discharged. We had our paperwork, whatever, and she was looking at me throughout the table, and I was looking at her, and she smiled at me, and I was getting ready to catch an airplane, ready to come back to Philadelphia. She said, listen, you're not going to Philadelphia, you're coming with me. I'm like, huh? I'm coming with you? What are you talking about? And this is when I was really getting my feet wet in what I do now, So, and that I wound up going with her, and we went to a hotel, we hung out, we had fun, we had a good time. Then from there, I traveled to Virginia with her, and stuff like that, and that's when I seen her shapeshift. And after I seen her shapeshift, I kind of was like, okay, what the heck did I see, Am I going crazy? Because that's, again, when I first started dabbling in, the paranormal and different things. Like, I obviously knew, you've been abducted and all that, but to see it in front of you, shapeshift, is like, wow, So when I seen it, I didn't talk to her for about a year or so, and, like, connected with her on Facebook and other, sites. And I asked her, I said, listen, I just want an honest answer. I said, am I completely crazy, or did I see what I honestly seen? And her answer shocked me. She said, Paul. I said, what? She goes, what you seen was real. But what would you say if I was something that you were fighting against? And that broke my heart, because I really cared about her, And I didn't understand it at the time. But she said, what if I told you that I was something that you were fighting against? And my response was as long as you're not against humanity and against free will of individuals, then we're fine. I told her that, but it broke my heart because, I see beauty in everything, whether you're reptilian or not. and or what, the grays and the feathers, I've had really negative experiences with these beings. Reptilian-wise, it's been 50-50. I've seen people's eye shape shift. I mean, people get into the whole David Icke thing, whatever, but I've seen things like that, of course. I think when you're consciously awakened, in tune to how the universe works and how the mind works, they will show themselves to us. You have to look at it with love. If you think like, oh my God, you're a like formaldehyde-faced monster, that's not cool. And I think that's, a lot of people aren't ready for a full disclosure because of that right there. But when you look at it with love, it's great. And I've had a lot of experiences with, seeing this, I was at a 9/11, I was in a 9/11, awareness rally. And we were going on about how the, building number 7, fell. And,
right.
And it did. I mean, there was 3 frigging buildings, that fell. And, no one's talking about building number 7. So I did my interviews. I was smoking a cigarette. I'm sitting on the back, and I have a shirt. I have a Fringe Truth Chaser shirt, my website. And it has a picture of a hybrid with the real big black eyes. And this older gentleman came up to me, and he might have been like 60. He looked in his 60s, and he comes up to me and goes, "Excuse me, sir." I said, "Yes." He goes, "What is that on your shirt?" I said, "What's a hybrid?" It's a lot of beings, throughout the galaxies and all have these type of eyes, but this particular picture that I had was a hybrid. And right up on the other side of me came a younger gentleman who must have been in his 20s. I mean, he was huge, muscular eyes. I mean, literally huge. And he's on one side, the older gentleman's on the other side, and they both, had sunglasses on. And when if I was just getting my feet wet in the subject, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have known what was going on, but I did know. I'm a seasoned, doing what we do. I know how to pick up on things. So we started talking, and he was telling me about energy weapons. He was talking about plasma weapons, and he was talking about, he's like, he kept stressing, he's like, you should really, really, really get into the movie The 12th Planet. You should really get into it. And the younger guy, he said, well, what do you think about hybrids, Paul? How do you feel? And the same thing I said on the show tonight. I mean, I said, I think that hybrids are pretty much going to recycle humanity. I said, I'm against, I'm against not having a choice from any being saying, hey, you don't belong here. You don't belong here. I'm very aggressively against that. I think we all have a choice to live or die. And I said, other than that, I said, I'm definitely for any being who's positive and has positive love vibration. And when I said that, he looked at me with a smile. And I'll never forget it. I'll never forget the smile I got. And then I got on to the older gentleman who was talking about energy weapons. He was talking about building number 7, the new tower they built. He's like, do you know what that is? And I said, no. He said, it's an energy weapon. I'm like, what?
The new one.
He's like, it's an energy weapon. He's like, Paul, look at how that is made. And he's like, you see the round thing that's on top of that? He's like, I'm going to tell you, and he told me he didn't want to go on, they made it clear that they would not want to go on camera. Because, I mean, I do journalism, obviously, but I said, fine. And he's like, energy weapon is what that is. He's like, there's a lot of things that you don't know, my friend, and he told me this. And he got into, like, he kept telling me about the 12th planet. And he got into plasma weapons and energy weapons, and we were talking about love vibration. All was a great conversation, but he really, it kind of seemed like him and the younger guy, like the younger guy was his bodyguard, you want to call that?
Mm-hmm. Watching
over him. Like he was the elder and the younger guy with the huge muscles was with him. Because as soon as he came over to me, he looked at my shirt, and I think he was like, I think he was what people call, like, he was there watching the event, seeing how humanity was, like, protesting this and that, seeing how people were conducting things. And I think it really shocked the hell out of him when he seen the shirt that I had on, and that kind of struck up the whole, universe. Like, he was, I mean, wow, we got into conversations about, like, Mars and, wow, underground bases. I mean, it was amazing. Very good conversation.
Do you, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Do you ever think that in our lifetime, Paul, we're going to see something? I think that's the one thing that probably is the most difficult, and it probably even stems back a little bit to when Bill called in. We hear about all these different things. Do you think that humanity is, in our lifetime, is going to see some event or see something that has taken place? And I know some people, and you may even say this, may say it's already happening, you just got to keep your eyes open. But do you think that something is going to happen that's going to kind of change things forever? Do you think something?
Yes, I do. I've had dreams in dream state, absolutely, where I've seen motherships fly over the skies. I mean, I've seen this. Again, I'm a strong believer in humanity being recycled and that's fine, but I do see full disclosure in my lifetime, in your lifetime, soon. I see that, excuse me, soon. And I see it, and I think that it's definitely in our foreseeable future. Absolutely.
Do you think that it's that humanity? Do you think that we're going to get wiped out and get completely recycled, or do you think maybe that'll change things? Maybe people will wake up.
I always hear the term "wake up, wake up." I'm so sick of hearing that. No offense, but I'm just so sick of hearing people say "wake up."
Well, maybe instead of saying "wake up," become aware and be and come to the conclusion or acceptance, I should say, that there's some things out there that do exist that we got to be aware of.
I think I love playing chess. I don't know if you play chess.
I do.
I'm a very good chess player, and I think right now it's checkmate. I think it's 2 moves away from checkmate. Let's say that. From us being totally recycled and obliterated. We look at the Georgia Guidestones. I mean, it's clear what they want to do. Your reviewers can Google Georgia Guidestones. They can Google Bohemian Grove. Every president has his own sick child sacrificing ritual that they do. Every president, they're part of the Bohemian Grove. So I just when we get into the whole universal aspect of this, I mean, I think that unless collectively as a whole we really raise our vibration to say we're ready for that next move, we're ready for that, to go from a level 0 civilization to a level 1 civilization, until we're ready to make that transition. And I don't think we're going to make that transition unless we inherit love vibration. I think because we're in a 3D existence. In order for us to get to, 5D, 6D, I mean, these are dimensional realities where it's positive, and we're just on a planet right now, we're just being bombarded with so much negative energy and so much negative beings that are just holding us down. I think that we're 2 moves away from checkmate. I think that the parasites that be are pretty much in the driver's seat. And it's sad to say, but when we look at our youth, I mean, I'm an older gentleman, I'm 35, and when I look at younger kids, all they care about is iPhones, all they care about is Xboxes and the new Xbox One and the new PS4. No one talks about this stuff.
Right,
okay?
Right.
No one talks about what's going on in the world. No one even knew. Listen, I had a guy, he sent me a message just like, well, I like your videos, but as soon as I started hearing you talking about vibrations, I just was totally turned off. We are 2 moves away from checkmate, okay? And that's not a popular thing to say on the show. I'm sure people want to say, well, there's hope, and I would love to come back on the radio show and talk about not only that there's hope, but there's this and this and this. Look, I don't candy coat things. And a lot of people who have been abducted were showed the hybrid program. They were showed these hybrid children, and they were told these children will be seated on this planet. They will be here. This is something that we've all experienced. And I think that that's my job. This is your job, okay? This is why you have your show. This is why I do my independent journalism. Because I kind of feel that even if we are 2 moves away from checkmate, I feel that on the individual soul level, because I don't believe in death. I believe we're all energy and we have choices when we die. I mean, I've heard it from someone who was abducted, and they said to the gray, "Oh my God, I'm going to die," and the gray like kind of chuckled and said, "Oh my, there's no such thing as death." You know, I think that as long as we do our job individually, that we've done our part. You know, I can't save the world. I can go to 1,000 events. I passed out 500 flyers out today. You know, we can just do our part. And I think that that's all we can do.
What event did you go today, Paul? Was it a chemtrail-related thing?
It was a chemtrail event today, and that's a very controversial subject. A lot of people think that it's tinfoil hat stuff, and you know, I've interviewed Scott Stevens. He's a meteorologist. I've interviewed Dane Wigington. I've interviewed so many people, just like you have. And I went to a chemtrail event today, and the thing was, 2 days before the event, you know, we had people that thought it was funny that they were going to get about 20, 30 people and come to the event in tinfoil hats since they were all loonies. And, you know, that's fine. I mean, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. So the event basically consisted of that weather modification. They're shifting the weather, and some people who have been abducted will tell you that the reason that they're seeding the air and they're seeding the weather is because they're changing the environment to kind of suit these hybrids. They're changing the atmosphere to kind of suit them better than humanity is living in right now. Regardless, they're spraying. That's a fact. Whether it's for this upcoming hybrid race, whether it's for weather wars, whether it's to just knock off the population, as Phil Schneider says, kill off 90% of the population. Regardless what it is, so I found out that the tinfoil hat group was coming against us to make us look like jackasses. And I decided, I said, well, Paul, how about you infiltrate them? Because they made the mistake that they were going to have like a brunch or something before they actually came to my event. And I went ahead and I went to their brunch and I said, hey, how's it feel to know that I'm the main host at this event? And they were really decent people, you know, and we talked, and they really just weren't, they were asleep. They weren't informed about things that were going on. They were informed, like, you know what we were saying, what does it take for people to wake up?
Right.
I think I actually woke them up. And, you know, I kind of took their anger, like, we're going to go to this event and we're going to attack these people. We took pictures, I live streamed with them, you know, we hung out, and really changed the way they thought. So I went to the event, and everything worked out good. I mean, they showed up, and, you know, I interviewed a couple of people that were there, because I like to have criticism. I don't want people to just say, oh, I believe what you say, without actually doing research. I think that's totally lunacy. And again, for the viewers, don't believe anything that I say about hybrids or anything. Do your own research, do your own homework, empower yourself. And like we were talking with Bill earlier, if whatever resonates love vibrationally within you, go for it. It may not work for me, but it may work for you. The weird thing was is that when we had this event, okay, we had CIA agents across the street from us, okay? I'm interviewing people. I had the microphone. And people were like, Paul, dude, there's guys in black suits that are across the frigging street. I'm like, no way. You know, so I started interviewing people, and this guy, Matt, he came up to me and he said, look, and I took off my sunglasses, I put on my glasses, and said, oh my God, I'm like, what the hell is this? Literally men in black. I have these pictures of these individuals on my Facebook, okay? The one guy, like, straight out of a Men in Black type of scenario, it was so crazy, let me tell you. I went across the street with the microphone in hand, and I said, excuse me, sir, why are you filming us? Well, I'm a concerned citizen, da-da-da-da-da. The one colored guy was answering the question, was very aggressive. The Caucasian guy looked like a pale, extra pale person, like very abnormally albino-looking white guy. And he had that Zeta chin, you know how the Zetas have that chin that kind of sticks out? He had that, he had the flat head, and his tongue kept like, all right, you know how if you flick your tongue in your mouth, you can see through the cheek?
Sure,
you can see like the tongue flicking? He kept doing that. And I was talking to the black guy, and I said, hey, look, I'm like, you know, I was talking about chemtrails and stuff like that, and when they both had they walked in cadence, like they walked the same way. They had the same suits. They had the same glasses. If anyone knows anything about Men in Black, you know that they are abnormally pale. Well, the one guy was. So I said, you know what? I had people that were filming. I started switching up things. I started talking about different dimensions and stuff like that. And I said, so your buddy over here. So I put the microphone in his face. He looked really agitated. And I said, so, sir, how does it feel to know that we're out here making a difference for humanity? You have someone with a camera in your face right now, knowing who understands vibration, knowing who understands different dimensions, and knowing who can look through individuals and know who they are. And so consciously I'm sending messages to him like, I know who you are, pal. Like, exactly. And he gave me that look, that what they call the stare, you know. He obviously had glasses on, but you can see it. You know, you can the facial expressions and well, the whole thing ended was my last question was, I said, I want to know, has any government in history ever poisoned its citizens? And he goes, well, that's a trick question. You're trying to bait me. I'm like, honestly, I just want a yes or no, and I will leave right now. I know you work for the government. I'm not a fool. And he said, yes, that has happened. And I said, sir, now you know why we're here today. Thank you so much for your time. I love the frigging suit. It's amazing. You know what I mean? And I was really cool about it. Like, I was really jokeable about it, but at the same time letting them know. I mean, we asked them, me and another guy that was there, asked him, who do you work for? He said, I cannot answer that. He said, I cannot answer that question. This will be on my YouTube by Monday.
Okay.
I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna send it to InfoWars. I'm gonna send this to every link and every website that I can possibly send this to, because I've never seen an event where you've actually had Men in Black style government agents, if you want to call, show up the way they did. I mean, as soon as I seen them, people were like, why are they here? I looked at my friend, I'm like, they're here for me. I know it. I mean, look where I'm at right now. I'm on your show. We're reaching thousands of people. And that's how the universe works. When you see, the thing with me is, I'm a universalist, but I reach thousands and thousands of activists. Now, if you can take the fact that I reach thousands of people who fight for humanity, who fight for clean water, who fight for clean air, and I mix that in with the whole hybrid thing, and I mix that in, and if all these people reach and I say, hey, look, I understand that you want to do this and you're an activist, but there's something deeper. There's something more universal. The planet, the world, the universe is more than what you think it is. I'm a direct threat to these programs that are going, am I not?
Yeah, well, I agree.
I mean, you would think that. I mean, because you have people who come on your show, yeah, and I have written books, I talk about time travel, I talk about this, I talk about that, but they don't reach thousands and thousands of activists that I do. So me reaching that, I mean, the people that we want to wake up, I'm reaching. I'm a double-edged sword here. I'm a double threat, because not only do I have the honor to reach these people, but I've also had the experience of being abducted and seeing different dimensional beings and seeing that. So I always tell people I'm going to merge the two. We have to merge the two, because there's no waking up. There's no saving anyone until we merge the two. You have to.
Right. Paul, I got to wrap it up for the night, my friend. 2 hours went way too quick. I appreciate you coming on and taking the time to be here.
Sure.
And I didn't ask a lot of questions. I wanted to hear your side of it, and that's what it's about. And where can our listeners go look at all your videos? What's the best place? Where's the best place for them to go?
Absolutely. It's www.princetruthchaser.com, youtube.com/princetruthchaser, www.twitter.com/truthchaser286. And I think thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, take care. And hey, thank you for being here, and I'd love to have you back on again and talk some more.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, my friend. Have a good weekend. Take care. Thanks, Paul.
You too.
All right, good night.